forgot to push the transmit button. I am going to create a checklist again. I just forgot. So, I'm trying a different source for sound on Facebook today and YouTube. I hope it works better. And now I'm going to welcome my Zoom people. Good morning, dear Dharma friends. I see you, Janine. Lovely to have you with us. So, it's another morning. It is Thursday, September the 24th. I'm Robert Beatty. I'm broadcasting from Beaverton, Oregon, suburb of Portland, Oregon. And this is a broadcast of the Portland Insight Meditation Community, a living, vibrant Theravada Buddhist lineage center in the tradition of Ruth Denison. I'm well rested this morning. I always like that. Went to bed fairly early. I spent an hour or two awake in the night. I think there was anxiety, but there wasn't much intensity to the affect. But I listened to a little clip yesterday where the person who plays the role of president was refusing to promise a nonviolent transfer of power. And it was very unsettling, very unsettling. But what I did was what I do is I just lay there and followed my breath and spent the time awake in a lot of peace. But sometimes the unsettledness is out of consciousness. It's just a little below where awareness is getting to. So I have a lovely reading this morning. May have done this one way back in early summer, can't remember. And I can't remember the origin of this. A young woman goes to the laundromat and puts in a load of laundry. When it's done, she puts her clothes in the dryer and sits next to an old lady who was mumbling. She realizes the woman is not mumbling, she's actually praying, offering up a prayer mantra of some kind that she cannot quite discern. And so she sits with her for a while, and then this lady gives her a card that says, "You might be wondering why I come here. I lost my son in the Vietnam War, and this is where he used to do his laundry, and so I come here to pray for him." The young woman came at the same time each week and would sit with the old lady way past the time that the laundry was finished. One day, the woman who was doing the silent witnessing found the older woman not to be there. Over the weeks, she realized she was no longer coming back. Then one day, another woman showed up, much younger, well-dressed, and was looking around for somebody. They struck up a conversation, and it turns out that this was the daughter of the woman who had been praying for her son. She had asked the daughter to give a note to the woman who had been sitting silently with her. Quote, "In the beginning, when I came to this place, I came in sorrow. I sat and remembered my boy, and I prayed. People cast glances my way and asked if I was a bit crazy, and acted as if I was a bit crazy. I sat in the same place he sat and prayed that he would know I love him still and that I was so proud to be his mother. One day you came and sat beside me. As time went by, you continued to come. I said my prayers in your presence. I wondered how you could understand, let alone decipher what I was saying. Somehow, though, you understood. In this life, I try to be good, to be someone who others can look up to, and I feel that my intentions were always to assist and never to harm anyone. You asked me for nothing, and you gave me something that I will carry with me until I leave this earth. You gave me acceptance and respect and treated me with a gentle regard for the person that I was. What you may not realize was that coming here became a time I truly looked forward to. I looked forward to meeting you, my dear friend. I never even knew your name. I'm going to meet my son very soon, and I wanted to write this while my mind was clear and my daughter Alice could carry my wishes to you. Your presence and acceptance has meant so much to me. No one has ever been so kind without expecting something in return. You gave me the priceless gift of acceptance and time spent with an old lady that others had decided was sick. I will forever be in your debt, and you will be forever in my heart. I take refuge in the Buddha, the one who shows me the way in this life. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya. I take refuge in the Dharma, the way of understanding and love. Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya. I take refuge in the Sangha, the community of mindful harmony. Namo Sangaya, Namo Sangaya, Namo Sangaya. We gathered together around the campfire of the Dharma. This warmth, this place of compassion and love and awakening, which has been gathered around for 2,600 years. And the way of the Buddha. And so let us begin with the intention of love. I aspire to love and accept myself and my life exactly as it is in this moment. It's flawed. I am flawed, no doubt. Of course. A work in progress. Whenever I'm hurting, whatever I discover, how I'm hurting, it is my intention to hold myself in sweet compassion. And let us also inoculate our being with some intentional gratitude. How fortunate I had a dry place to sleep last night. Had a private bathroom. Took a warm shower, a hot shower last night. Already had a piece of toast, fine, crusty French loaf with a little bit of herbal something on the top. The body's working rather well. Seeing's working. And the list can go on. All the things that are going just great right now. And let us drop into awareness of the body. All the usual things. There's feet. There's knees. There's the life of the hands. There's the back. If you're leaning, you could notice the pressure of the back against the chair. There's the life in the face. And there's breathing. Breathing and the awareness in which it occurs. This might be a moment in which the mind is very quiet. In which the arising and passing away of each breath is a large event, easily inhabited. The arising of the moment when breathing in is completed and breathing out is about to begin can sometimes be outside of time. The beginning of the breath so clearly no longer exists at the time of fullness. Or this could be a moment in which it's difficult to find the breath. There could be powerful emotions roiling through, or there could be worries, there could be excitement about something. There could be a conversation being reviewed and rehashed. We vow to not be violent, to neither be attached nor rejecting of any of these experiences. Instead, we vow to be awake, to notice how they arise in consciousness. And to notice how they also pass away. Everything which begins ends. there is a kind of effortless effort. Perhaps more accurately called an intention. I intend to be attentive, awake, receptive. And I choose a home base, a training object in the breath. One could choose sounds, or perhaps the vibratory life in the hands and thumbs and fingers, or face. One could choose a loving kindness mantra. May I be happy. May all beings be happy. May I be free from identification with suffering. May the same be true for all beings. One could use in-breathing and out-breathing and use noting, rising, rising, falling, falling. When the wandering mind arises, wandering, wandering. And whenever awareness discovers tension in the body, in the forehead perhaps, or the gut, the cheeks, we simply relinquish it. There's nothing to be tense about. As we allow awareness to welcome whatever arises, and we refine our focus and concentration on breathing in and out. If we were to ask, when is it that I am alive? What do I really experience? The only true answer would be now. What is now? If the eyes were open, there might be seeing, or there would be seeing, likely, if the eye were intact. And there was light. In this now, there may be sounds. There's the sound of this voice. It comes and then it disappears. There may be some olfactory stimulation, smell, some residual taste. There are certainly kinesthetic and proprioceptive sensations in the body, as well as contact and pressure, temperature, heaviness. And then there's the richness, the complexity of mind. And it's the mind now. We could think about something that happened a few moments ago, or yesterday, or in our remembered, imagined childhood. When does it exist? Now. We could think about what we construe to be the future. What will happen in the election? What will happen in my old age? What will happen when this happens? When does this happen? It happens now. So we are abiding in the present moment. And let us remember the web of life in which we live. On the in-breath, think some kind thought for yourself. May I be awake and happy. May I be deeply accepting. And on the out-breath, offering this to some family member or friend, someone you love easily. Maybe a pet. On the in-breath, feeling the expansion of the chest and abdomen and wish yourself well. And on the out-breath, a beloved, a friend, maybe a group of friends, maybe this group. And don't make it into some monumental, it has to be a certain way. It's just a remembering, oh yes. And perhaps you've come into contact with the aspect of your being we speak of as the inner child, which of course is a construct, sometimes very useful. Wish yourself well. Some years ago, I added to my loving kindness phrases, Bobby, I'll never abandon you again. And to those beings we think of as on the outside of us, to all beings, our relatives with wings, our relations who live in the trees, those who burrow in the ground and run on the surface, those who slither, those who burrow. To all my relations, I bow. And now doing what is necessary to ground in the body with appreciation. Notice how spectacularly alive your body is. Beautifully alive. And perhaps spectacular and beautiful are completely unnecessary. Just notice life. And notice life in the region of the face and the eyes. And then notice the intention to let the eyes open. And opening them prepared to be greeted by a screen full of representations of beloved fellow Dharma students, practitioners. And then when you're ready, letting the eyes open. It takes an intention, and then it takes effort to raise the eyelids. And then we're back, and oh, there you are. How nice that you hung around. How beautiful. I like the transition point between worlds, between moments. And I have some announcements to make today. I'm going to be very responsible. Here we go. I noticed that this is volume 46 of the digest. Gregory and Molly are doing a wonderful job of this. So, an update on the fundraising drive, which ends at the end of September. We have welcomed 43 new monthly givers, donors, as a result of our fundraising campaign. And so there's the invitation there. If you're not a monthly donor of PIMC, there's still time. And we have a whole bank of people waiting for your call right now. And we have special gifts. You can have a special PIMC mug or a t-shirt or a bag or something. But it is so comforting to belong. So I encourage you to do that if you wish. And then going down, we have Basics of Mindfulness, which begins tonight, I guess. I'll bet there's still a possibility of signing up. I don't know if they cut that one off. Doug's been doing this for years, and people really love it. And he's a marvelous teacher. And this is Mary Stankiewicz. This is, of course, an online class. Mary's from LA. I think she's been to PIMC in person a couple of times. Very beautiful person and marvelous teacher of many years' experience. Very down to earth. And here's that. Look at how short Jim's beard is here. First Saturday retreat coming up. And an online NVC practice session with Doyle Banks. There's a half-day, October 17th, half-day retreat with Jim. And then there are the online meditation gatherings that I won't go through, but every night of the week except Saturday. And you can find that on the PIMC website. Oh, look at this picture. Isn't this nice? It makes me think of Tinkerbell. All right. And I have an announcement that I will be absent Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday mornings. Jim will be on Monday, and then I believe it will be Kendall and Doyle. I think that's the way it's working. I will be having a long looked forward to 3 days in a cabin in the woods with Jennifer. We missed our 10 days of camping together in August, and it'd be really nice to have that time. It's actually a B&B right on the side of the Salmon River up in Zigzag, which was under serious fire threat and smoke 2 weeks ago when we originally planned it. I will be here on Sunday morning. Okay, I think that's all from me. I want to open up the invitation. What have you to share with each other and the world today? How's it going? Joys, celebrations, sadness, losses. Oh, there's somebody.
That's me, Robert. It's Janet.
Where are you? Oh, there you are. Hi, Janet.
I don't know where I am, actually. I had a small experience this morning that was useful to me. And it kind of tied into what you were teaching last night about letting go. And I often get up very early, like 3 or 4, and read a long time. And for the last 18 years, I've been experiencing hot flashes. Kind of given up the notion they'll ever go away. But this morning, I was feeling one coming on, and I actually was aware of it. I realized it was happening. And usually, then I watch this sort of irritation arise, and it's, my common reaction. And then I usually jump up, take something off or whatever. And this morning I just stopped and thought, I can go ahead and get up and take something off, but I could actually stop and forget the irritation part. So I did. And it was minor, but my next thought was, oh, this is what Rob was talking about, and good for me. And then the next thing was, oh, I really would like this to continue.
How can I have this experience again? Yeah.
Absolutely. So I just wanted to ask you, or I don't know, just say that and then ask you if you have any comments. And also to say, I'm not a person who puts myself forward much, but I am thoroughly enjoying the Sangha. And even though I've never had the pleasure of seeing folks in person, it's really been wonderful to meet you all here. So that's me. I'm going to turn myself off now.
Thank you, Janet. What you're describing there is kind of a classic emergence of a realization of the Four Noble Truths. There's the discomfort or the pain, the hot flash, which is not pleasant. And then there's the suffering that arises from the resistance to it. And creating a self which is, I don't like this, why has it happened for so long, all that stuff. And then when that becomes an object of observation, the possibility of it simply vaporizing arises. That suffering arises when we either are clinging to something or pushing something away. And when we don't form the self that does that, there's just the experience. So have a lovely journey with that. That may, and I would predict you may discover that it's sometimes possible and sometimes it's not possible. But that over time, hot flashes will become really an irrelevancy. Actually, I'm having a similar experience. You may have been here or not. When I discovered, I've had a smell in my nose now for some months. And I went to the ENT a week or so ago, and it appears to be an artifact of my brain surgery, because they went right across the olfactory nerve and irritated it somehow. And since I got the word from the ear, nose, throat guy that it's not a malignancy, it's not a bad thing, it's just a thing, and it's probably permanent. In the 2 weeks since then, I hardly notice it. It's like it's gradually fading away, and I can find it in a second. Well, there it is, but it's become less and less irrelevant, and more irrelevant. So how wonderful. That's a long time to have hot flashes.
Well, I'm sure there are people watching this right now, other people in the Sangha who know exactly what I'm talking about.
Uh-huh.
And, it does. After a while, it's just part of life. It's
Yeah.
like a lot of things that you adapt to. But that tiny little irritation, it takes energy. And how many thousands of times have I felt that?
Yeah.
Without, even being aware of it. So,
Yep.
thank you. Thank you.
I have the great good fortune of having lived through menopause with 3 different partners. And I thought for years that I should write a book of I would interview 20 couples of various ilks and write about a guide for the partner. And then recently, a year ago or so, I Googled it, and there's 2 or 3. It's a big thing. It's a big deal.
Robert?
Hey, Tim.
Hi.
Are you having hot flashes too?
Not that I know of, and I guess I would know.
You probably would.
I had an interesting kind of Dharma little experience the other night, a couple nights ago. I was woke up at 3:30 in the morning, worrying about the Saturday when the Proud Boys and all those neo-Nazis who come forward and they vow to take back for sin, all that stuff, and they're going to come hard, they're going to be in trouble. I woke up worrying about that. People were going to get hurt, bad stuff. What's going to happen? Then visualizing terrible scenarios and all the kind of stuff that you do. Got a blue suit, sat on the porch, and I kind of thought, well, okay, it's the middle of the damn night, and I want to go back to sleep. There's nothing I can do about it right now. Anyway, but I'm all agitated, so what I came up with, and I've used this before, it didn't take me very long to come up with it this time, because I've used it before. What I came up with is doing metta for these poor, messed up boy men, who I understand to a certain extent and feel some compassion for. They're not happy, and this isn't going to help them become happy. and some of them are going to cross a line that they can't come back from, and it's really going to fuck them up. It's really going to mess them up. So worried about them anyway.
Uh-huh.
And so from that, I went into have a metaphor. Just after this basic meta, maybe a peace, maybe a peace, maybe happy, maybe find the strength to do what you know is right, you know, maybe at peace, basically. And I sat and did that for a few minutes. And it showed me right out, it really had a soothing effect on me. Whether it did them any good or not, I have no idea. But it made, and I'll just go back to bed. Sleep for a few more hours, peaceful.
Thank you,
It's
Tim.
a nice thing.
Lovely. In response to a request to put the reading that I did this morning in my blog, I will do that before I leave my seat this morning. And the blog is on robertbeatty.com, easy to find. And also, I might just invite you, if you've not been to robertbeatty.com, I invite you to check it out and take the time to watch those videos and the audiovisual things that are there. They're quite extraordinary. There's one on The Great Way that I think you'll find really, I find it stunningly calming, actually. And then there's another one, well, just see what you find. You'll find them quite remarkable, I think. Collaborations with artists. Emily, have you moved already, or is that still coming? You're in your new spot?
I am, yes. Sunday I did it.
Uh-huh. How's it going?
It's okay. I'm adjusting, you know. Yeah, it'll be fine. Yeah, being mindful of living with my parents again. So seeing lots of ways of, you know, where I get many of my personality and things, and yeah, I think it'll be good. So it's beautiful to be in the country, and yeah, trying to stay mindful. But it's amazing how quickly I lose that. So just kind of getting back into the practice. I was in the habit of it being in this one space, so it's interesting to see how it needs to be cultivated in many space.
Great. You know, you reminded me when you spoke about the reactions with the parent. A long time ago, I was visiting friends who I had known them, been close to them when their children were really small, and we would get together frequently and do holidays together. And then the kids had grown up and moved away, and the daughter was home, and she was in her final year of college, I think, and she was home for the summer, and she was being really grumpy and didn't want to do the dishes, and we had a conversation about it, and she said, it's the weirdest thing. When I'm away with my friends, of course I do the dishes and I clean the house and I do what I'm supposed to, what a good person does. But here at home, it's my parents, and I just don't want to do the damn dishes. Funny. They should do the dishes.
I have been doing the dishes, but I understand.
You recognize the paradigm, yeah.
Oh yes, the old patterns,
Mm-hmm.
and working consciously to be aware of those when they arise.
Well, it actually will be a marvelous practice to illuminate all that stuff. Now, with the capacity you have to metabolize it, it'd be really interesting, I think.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see how nuts we are, I think, and how easily we regress. Oh, jeez.
Thank you.
Ram Dass told a story of having been in Asia for 6 months or a year or something, and coming home really high, really open, and he was visiting a friend, and he was in a little room for meditation, and it was dark, and he was practicing Ram, 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 God, 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 God. And he said he came out of the room and there was a sharp toy on the floor that hurt his foot a little bit. And he said it was amazing how quickly it went from God, God, God to God damn it, why is that there? Just boom. So I think it appears as though it takes a while to work that stuff through. Hi, Budo.
Robert,
Yes.
it's B.
Hello, B.
Hi. I have a question after Tim spoke about meta, which is that when I was younger, I felt like, or not that long ago, I should say, I felt like it was possible for me to feel that for many people. And now there are people who the well has run dry for me. And I'm not talking about people, the Proud Boys or people I'm close to. I'm talking about the people that when you say to go to the farthest reaches, I'm talking about Donald Trump and Mitch McConnell and Tom Cotton and Lindsey Graham. I haven't got it for them. And practicing doesn't bring it up for me. And I just wondered, what do we do with that when it feels as though some people have moved beyond the reaches of our willingness to extend it to them, even though we know they're the ones we most need to extend it to?
They really are sick human beings. It makes me sad. They've lost any semblance of compassion and understanding of what they're doing. They're lost in a fog of greed, hatred, and delusion. And so I can find compassion. But there's an alternate practice which you might find helpful. And it takes the creation of a pretty good container, which for me would be reminding myself of the refuges and maybe being on my meditation spot. And it's the practice of mindful hate. And it could involve something like maybe sitting with a piece of paper or just speaking it out loud, and let whatever venom and hatred there is in there emerge in the light of mindfulness. It's not an unconscious rumination, it's what's there. And it's a kind of practice that I've done countless times with another person who has trauma from childhood, or someone who's done them great harm. And there's the anger and hatred and just vicious nastiness in there that is there actually in order to protect us. And when you can't express it, when it's unskillful to express it, to find a way to do it consciously and to discover what's in there. And what's in there is sometimes some incredibly violent stuff that's in us. And if we can let it come to consciousness and move through, we then don't have to spend all that energy holding it down. And part of the difficulty with the people you mentioned is that their obscenity in their actions persists and escalates all the time. The harm that they are doing to countless beings is every day there's another affront and threat of harm to us and to many. And so there of course is this hatred, this venomous anger, and to allow room for that. I aspire to love and accept myself exactly as I am in this moment. And my early therapy training was in bioenergetics, and there, who was it that created that? I forget. Anyway, if you're really angry, you could do something like roll up a face cloth and put it back in your back teeth, and think of this person and growl. And you might discover, sometimes we need a hand to hold to do this, because sometimes it's a little scary. It's like, who thought that was in me? Or take a tennis racket and beat on the bed. And it's not a matter of creating a big scene. It's of staying in contact with that angry feeling and letting it manifest through the musculature, because that's what it wants to do. It's the fight-flight response. Or you could go for a walk and stomp. Or if you're in a place that's safe for it, to stomp and scream. Or to get in the car and scream. But to do it very intentionally. It's not an unconscious acting out of this. It's consciously practices, consciously opening the door to one's hatred, fear, jealousy, desire to do harm. What do you think?
I think that's helpful because to be honest, what I was afraid you were going to say was just keep practicing the metta and it'll come. And I feel as though it just feels so hollow, right?
Yeah.
That
Mm-hmm.
Like I say, it feels like a dry well, and so something else there has to be another step before I can do that.
Yeah.
So especially writing down feels like a really good idea for me. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
It's oftentimes I've encouraged people, if they have anger with another person, to write them the letter that your dark side would really like to send. You know, it's the letter that has "I wish you were dead" and "I wish you'd be run over by a train," or just whatever emerges. I've had an interesting experience. I get a little embarrassed, I guess, but I've lost the belief in heaven and hell quite a long time ago. This is it right here, and it can be heaven and hell. But I've been wishing that I could believe in hell because it'd be good. You know, if I could imagine some people there forever, that would satisfy a certain sadistic child part of myself. I wish I could resurrect, so to speak, my old Catholic terrorism ideas of heaven and hell. You would find there are traditions. This was a conversation that happened at one of the teachers' conferences I attended. In the Thich Nhat Hanh tradition, there would be vehement opposition to what I'm suggesting. That you must never, ever express anger because it conditions then more anger. But actually, that's not true when there's mindfulness present and the intention is healing and loving. You're loving of yourself to allow yourself to be this piece of your shadow, to let it come into fruition, and then relinquish it. So it's very specific. I know when I've done this kind of work with people, I'm thinking particularly in my office, before going into it, we make a couple of agreements. And the first one is you're not going to hurt yourself. Because you could get carried away and damage a muscle. I mean, you could really, and the other is you're not going to hurt me, and you're not going to damage the environment. You know, you don't need to smash a lamp or something. It can be, but it can be quite intense. I'm remembering one woman now. This was quite a wonderful healing story. She had a big betrayal, and she came in one day and she said, "I went to Goodwill and I bought 100 plates. And I smashed them one by one on my kitchen floor while screaming." Now that was a satisfying thing. And then she said, by the end of it, I didn't have any more to do. It was done. So she had the opportunity to do a lot of noisy, I think it'd be fun, really, don't you think? A lot of noisy smashing of things. But there was no bad karmic outcome. She didn't hurt anybody. She didn't smash the plate from her grandmother that she really loved, which would then hurt her. She got some old crockery and went at it.
I have a story about that kind of anger.
Hi, Francine.
Yes. Good morning. Years ago, I think maybe one of the most traumatic things in my life was divorce and hard times. And I'm not sure who suggested this to me, but it was to buy as many eggs as you felt you could afford, which I did. I think it was 2 grocery bags full. And I drove myself out to the woods and started throwing these eggs, smashing them against, trees that as far as I could throw. Well, and yelling and throwing the eggs and, really, really sort of dispersing all of this anger. I think I maybe got through a bag and a half of eggs before my arm got tired, and then it made me silly and giddy. And I thought, well, it was all organic matter in the woods, so that was safe enough. And then I came home with several dozen eggs, and made egg salad or something. But it was done. It was done. So another option.
And the rage moved into lightheartedness and humor, it sounds like. Yeah. Which isn't that interesting and not uncommon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because all I could see is this sort of, madness in the woods with the egg throwing and, how odd of a situation, but it was done. It was
Mhm.
done, and there was no cleanup. You didn't have to pick anything up or that. So yeah, let it be expended. I think that's what it came for me, is I expended that energy and it was done.
Thank you. Well, it's 8:15. Anybody sitting with something you really want to share? I'm going to end this, and then if you'd like to stick around, I'm going to play a song that you might find entertaining, particularly in this context. It's by Dory Previn, that some of you might know of her or have heard. It's called Screaming in My Car, I think. It's about her encounter with a policeman when she was screaming in her car. So I'll play that after we've signed off, so those of you that want to go can go. So any last sharing from anybody? Thank you for this wonderful connection this morning. Nice stuff. All right. May all beings be happy. Here we go. Unmute all. There we go. May all beings be happy. May all beings be happy. May all beings be happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. All right, it'll take me a moment to get the song queued up, but I'll be right with you. And goodbye, dear friends on Facebook and YouTube. To avoid copyright infringement, I'm going to say goodbye to you.